Jordans, which I think is pretty cool. But anyway, we are live. What's going on, everybody?
Oh, look at that.
MLB Strategy Show. What the hell is today? Tuesday, July 23rd, 15-game slate. These 15-game Tuesday slates, man, we're getting pretty good at it for as much as we like to change the subject.
I'd say we're an industry standard.
You know what? I don't disagree.
Me neither.
Best in the world at what we do.
I agree.
Oh, God. Last night, my dong pick in Live Before Lock hit a double dong. I'm the only person with two now. I'm still miles behind EMAC in totals, but
who was it?
Eugenio Suarez.
Very nice. Are you wait? You hit a double dong and you're still behind EMAC?
I'm behind EMAC by a ton, dude. He
what did he just pick Dan Vogelbach every day and
pretty much, and it works. EMAC has 21 total right now. I have
21 is not bad for giving out one. That's not bad.
That's 21 of 77.
Where does he give them out?
What do you mean?
Like you do the dong pick on the show?
Yeah. So whoever's on the show makes them at 6:30, and then like if anybody else that's still involved is watching, you just dump them in chat. Got
it. So you've been marking down EMAX every day.
Yeah, and all of us. So it's me, Chris, Jake, basically anybody that does Live Before Lock. Randone has started getting his picks in now too. But EMAX got 21. Jake has 18. I now have 16. Chris is bringing up the rear at 14. But I picked up 5 in the last week, so it was
tight group. Pretty tight grouping from 2 to 4, though.
Yeah, but EMAC is just running away with it.
EMAC running away.
Oh, Eric. All right, normal stuff. MLB Strategy is the promo code. 50% off your first month with us if you want to check out Awesemo Plus and everything we have to offer. Baseball. I'm just going to name sports that aren't even happening right now. Baseball, basketball, NFL, MMA, tennis, NASCAR, golf. I have a golf show today with Nolan and Ben at 2:30, breaking down the WGC FedEx St. Jude Invitational. Look at me getting that off the top of my dome piece. Whew.
Not bad, bro. That's pretty solid. What I usually say is, if they offer daily fantasy sports, we've got content for it.
I think we do everything except for League of Legends.
Yeah, but I don't even consider that.
I don't know anything about that. I would probably enjoy it, but I don't know.
It's so yeah. The concept was always interesting because it's like you're picking people that are playing. It's funny because you'll be like, yeah, well, that's what daily fantasy sports is. That are playing a game, but it's like you're picking people that are controlling a troller that is then controlling a game, which is different than a sports game. But
here's the question for you. Will we ever have DFS for the esport leagues like NBA 2K?
Well, I would think if anything, the first one would be Madden.
I don't know. I don't know enough about which one of those are more like. Do they have a league now?
ESPN used to have a TV show on it, like I forget what it was called. I guarantee one of our listeners would know, where it was like they were in a bus, kind of like a tour bus, and it was like a massive tournament, like the road to whoever wins the Madden tournament.
Right, but that was just people playing each other. They have like literal teams now.
Right.
Like there are people that represent the Mavs.
So you're saying because of basketball you can have like 5 on a team.
Right.
Oh, I didn't know that.
I don't even know if that's true. But I know that they have like every team has multiple people.
You're just making this up?
Mildly?
Or you're saying you could see how it's doable?
I see how it's doable at the very least. It might be legitimate right now.
But right, I thought you meant for like individually controlling it, because you would think Madden would be the one there, but I have no idea, man. I have no idea.
Can you imagine being like, oh, I got first in this contest, and be like, oh, basketball's over. No, I pick my guys based on all these dudes playing video games. People go, what?
Unreal.
Dude, I mean, imagine baseball. Imagine being like, oh, I just control Ahmed Rosario. And that's my job. I'm Ahmed Rosario digitally.
Right, but then with you and me, you're like, yeah, man, Mike Spinkston killed it for me today. Like, who's Mike Spinkston? Well, he controls Ahmed Rosario.
Yeah. Oh God, future's gonna be fantastic, man. Going to be fantastic. Also, we are brought to you by Yahoo Sports. If you want to check out our presenting sponsor, they are the presenting sponsor of this show. They are the presenting sponsor of the Deeper Dive. They are the presenting sponsor of the Early Bird podcast we put out each night, overnight, a little preview of the slate. I'm going to drop Emacs article for Spotlight Hitters and Stacks. There may be some help for you if you want to go check out what Yahoo has to offer. And you can use the promo code AWESOMO to get up to $30 in Yahoo Sports rewards points. Yahoo's running the best contests in the industry right now. No management fees, 33% payouts. It is a very, very user-friendly experience, and I think that everybody should at least check it out. Even if you don't want to do it for us, do it for yourself. It's going to make you better. It's true there's an E-League for NBA 2K, only for some of the NBA teams, not all of them. Okay, that's what I needed to hear. Good to know. Good to know.
Ramesses says, so wait, you guys are the best in the business, but EMAC is leading the home run pack. LOL. Little different.
I don't mean that Laffy and I are leading the MLB strategy show in the morning as a collective. Or do you mean just you and me? Because that's fine with me too.
I meant just exclusively you and me.
Oh, perfect. Yeah. Well, then I agree with you.
As far as our content goes, yeah. As far as this Tuesday strategy show goes, yeah.
Okay. I agree with you completely. I was going to try to be more democratic, but I don't really need to. It's
just sort of set me up to say it.
The best part is, like, Adam will never hear this.
Of course not. Unless someone
Jake's listening. So.
And now that I said that, someone will rat us out.
I'm sure. Sad day last night. Unfortunately for us, Alex did not win another couple $100,000. You start to think that it's normal, like breathing, but
he said that was his biggest weekend of the year, biggest 2-day stretch of the year. Massive. I think it was 400.
Oh, I think it was more than that.
I think that's just draft.
Because I was gonna say because it happened on FanDuel too. It wasn't like one site only. He cleaned up across the board.
Speaking of best in the industry,
yeah, that one isn't a joke, and we're not trying to be funny and take jabs at anyone else. He literally is.
Yeah. Oh yeah, it's pretty evident.
So this is fantastic. Last night, the $9 300K guaranteed contest on DK won. It had half the amount of entries as the Minimax and a higher top score, which I think is interesting. But 2, the guy that won it last night, $100,000, 8 bullets, and his winning lineup had Adrian Sampson get 1.4.
Wow. How many points?
1.4. Oh wait.
How many
points did he have total?
Did his lineup have?
230.15. He won by 5.5.
Did he have Nova or did he have Cole?
Nova, Garver, Goldschmidt, LeMahieu, Suarez, Bogarts, Judge, Mercado, Alvarez. It is a 2-man Yankee stack, and that's it.
Unreal. 100
large, man.
While I don't necessarily agree with Adrian Sampson pairing with Ivan Nova, I like to see that when a dude runs out like $80 or $70 worth of entries.
He left $2,000 on the table
and hit. Yeah. See, that's the crazy thing, because think about being like, okay, I'm going to build this, because you're building them by hand.
Yeah.
No optimizer's giving you that unless you're, and you're like, I'm going to start with Nova and Sampson, and I'm going to win $100,000. Let's do it.
That's the ultimate lottery ticket, man. What do the rest of his lineups look like? Okay, so every other lineup, he spent at least $49,800. He was all over the map. He or she, I guess. Royal Raider can be anything. Robbie Ray, Richards, Gray, Richards, Brooks, Nova, Mills, Gray, Mills, Ray, Cole, Clevenger. It's just all over the place.
Wait,
but no stack bigger than a 3-man Tampa Bay stack.
He paired Cole and Clevenger in one of them?
Yep.
And then paired Nova and Sampson in one of them?
Yep.
Wow. So you're looking at one lineup where your total pitcher costs is like 70% of Garrett Cole. And then another one where your total pitcher costs are literally half of your total cap space.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, Nova plus Samson yesterday was 8,900. That's
Congrats.
$800 cheaper than just Sonny Gray on his own.
Congrats to Royal Raider, man. And by the way, it's probably a good time to ask when people ask about like, hey, how do I use rewind on Cruncher to go back and look at how things are done? Am I supposed to try and replicate what I saw the night before on the guys that won lineups? Well, number one, it depends who's there. You're not trying to replicate it, but if you've got, Alex at the top and Tom right beneath him, and Chipotle, whoever, and these guys are up there, then yeah, you want to see what they did. On a night like last night, you're not going to look at this and be like, okay, how do I do what he did?
Yeah, no, there's no right way to do that. Like you would never try to replicate that. That dude, I mean, he threaded the needle in like a really aggressive degree, and he came out $100,000 to the good off of $72 in entry fees.
With a 1 from Samson.
With a 1.4 from your starting pitcher, and you beat out 39,214 other entries to win $100,000.
Amazing.
Kudos, man. Kudos.
It's no surprise that it was higher top score than the mini max because no one in their right mind is doing that.
No. 224.7 was the score that came in second, which would have been pretty comparable. Yeah. That's kudos to that guy, man. 100 large must feel pretty damn good when you wake up. I'd be taking Tuesday off, that's for sure.
It doesn't feel bad.
No. I finished 4th in the mini-max. I cannot win this damn tournament.
Ugh.
And apparently at 12:03 Eastern time, AM, I was in first. I was 2.5 hours into the back of my eyelids at that point, so I have no idea. But somebody tweeted about it, so I have a timestamp.
That's brutal, man.
Yeah. And I got there on Nova Trevor Williams, so the bats for me were great. Just needed a little bit more somewhere.
What did Williams finish with?
19.05.
Yeah, that's solid. Because that game ended up seeing like 11 or 12 total runs.
Yeah, I finished behind by 1.9 points. Eek.
That's brutal. That's always the worst.
It was a lineup that got free. The rest of it was garbage, so I can't act like I smashed the slate or anything like that. I got shit lucky.
Well,
but sometimes that's the point of the 150 max. It's some of those are just going to break free sometimes, and this is one of those times. So I'll take it.
Sir.
I'll take it. I had a lot of reds, which didn't go well as a stack, but it certainly went well with regards to Eugenio Suarez putting up 32 fantasy points because I had like 20-something%.
So no hedge life at all. Pick him for the dong and throw him in the most of your lineups. I love it.
Hell yeah. Who the hell did they face yesterday? Milwaukee. Chase Anderson had like a 200-something X ISO against righties over the past 2 seasons.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No. And his home run problems at home are really exacerbated.
Yeah, I mean, it's obviously better for lefties in Milwaukee, but it's not like hitting a home run as a righty there is some difficult task.
Right.
All right, 13 minutes in, about that time. We got 15 games to go. About that time to do this. You ready?
Let's rock.
Let's try this one again today. Nationals and Rockies, 4.8 run implied total for the Nats.
How many times have we said, all right, let's try this Nats game again. I mean, now, granted, sorry, I don't mean to cut you off this early, but
I didn't even finish the first 2 teams.
I know. That's why I said I didn't mean to cut you off. Well, I did.
Yeah, you certainly did.
Trying to be courteous about it.
We're good.
The weather stuff in Washington is at a point where I'm so skeptical every time. A monster tornado could cruise through Washington, D.C., and I'm like, these guys are ridiculous. Because I never know. Jake and I were on the live stream last night being like, we're treating this game like it's fine and I'm playing it 100%. I finished my crunches and then I look back, didn't know that it was postponed. Emacs sends a message in Slack like, it's going to be great when Josh realizes he has to re-crunch. We didn't even notice that it happened. Oh my God. What now? I wonder, was the weather actually terrible there? I never looked at any live views of it. Nah, I have no idea. Because New Jersey, 500,000 people lost power, and there was a monster. I get that. Did Jersey, they just not pay their bills? No, the Storms knocked it out, but like a huge line of storms came up past me, and I'm assuming hit DC too. But let's hope we get this one in. Sorry, go ahead.
Nats and Rockies. 4.8 run implied total for the Nats. 3.6 for the Rockies. You know something about the Rockies? No. It's 63% chance to win for Washington.
I'll wait till next game.
Steven Strasburg going for the Nats. Peter Lambert going for the Rockies. I am going to grab ownership now since I didn't before, but we've got like 7 or 8 guys at the top of the pitching pool today that are all pretty similar. So I'm curious to your thoughts here. How do you feel about Strasburg against the Rocks? Because I assume that neither of us like Peter Lambert.
No, but I really like Strasburg. Now,
So do I.
keep this in mind. Let me just talk about let's talk about him in a vacuum for a second, and not necessarily compared to the other guys, and then we'll get into that. Because you do have Trevor Bauer against Toronto, you have Chris Sale against Tampa Bay. You've got some really good spots, and let's not forget Aaron Nola against Detroit. If he finished as the top fantasy pitcher today, I wouldn't be surprised. That's how good he's been over the past couple of months, and that's how bad the Tigers are. So now that we got that out of the way, I think Strasburg's a spectacular play. The Colorado Rockies this year, and I'm not a big home road splits guy unless it makes sense. In this case, it makes perfect sense as to why they would struggle. They've been really, really bad, Josh. And by really bad, I mean they are 30th in WOBA, 25th in ISO, and 30th, dead last in WRC plus and WOBA away from home, with the 4th highest K rate outside of Coors Field. So you're going to get some good hitters in this lineup, like David Dahl, Blackman, Story, Arenado. I totally understand that, but it's also a very high matchup for Steven Strasburg. So if you've loaded the ownership, I didn't load it yet.
I did.
Where do we have him at?
28% on Yahoo, 19 on FanDuel, 18 on DraftKings.
So he's going to get ownership. I mean, that's a little bit more than I initially suspected, but it's not totally surprising because it's a good spot.
Yeah, I like it quite a bit. It does get a little scary because there's clearly like talented bats in Colorado's lineup. Blackman, Story, Arenado. Say what you want about Daniel Murphy in a righty-lefty matchup. It's not like Strasburg has any major holes. 26% K rate against lefties, 31.5 against righties over the past 2 seasons. Doesn't really struggle with power against either of them in particular.
Neutral park.
Yeah, I get it. I like it. It's just, I think he's priced exactly where he should be. I think that ownership looks right. I don't have much else to say. I expect to have somewhere in that neighborhood as well.
And if you buy into the sweat narrative, well, it's only going to be in the 70s today, so that's good. What about? Well, I know we'll get to that game, but just so we can kind of put something together here, like some structure to the show. Nola's at 10% on DraftKings. Yes. He's a little bit expensive, but I don't think he's egregiously overpriced based on the matchup. And he has gone out there and had some really solid strikeout games. Where are you at on Nola at 10%, 4% on FanDuel, and on Yahoo we've got him coming in at 10%.
I guess I'm a little bit lower on him, but it doesn't really have anything to do with Nola. I'd rather have Boyd, and he's at 3% ownership, and I'd rather have Caleb Smith at 9,400. But
you rather okay, Caleb Smith. I fine with that, but Boyd over Nola, really?
I think so. Yeah, as of right now, at least.
If Nola was popular, I would agree, but and granted, 3% is quite a bit lower than 10, but 10% is also a lot lower than what we're going to see from guys like Chris Sale today, and maybe even Strasburg. So,
it's super close. These guys are separated by very little. I have Boyd projected for 0.3 of a strikeout more. So it's
right.
It's really not anything. It's 55-45 for these two anyway.
Yep. Makes sense. When we get to that game, we'll talk about it more. But
the lineups themselves can just flip those two guys immediately without any real.
But I'll tell you, Josh, it really does kind of highlight what type of pitching is on this slate. Yeah. But excuse me, Bauer, Sale, Strasburg. Paddock, that'll be a tougher one to get to for sure. Hopefully everyone played him last start. And then Nola Boyd, Domingo Herman, not going to be high on him. But Caleb Smith against the White Sox, Darvish against the Giants, and then Chris Archer against a bad St. Louis team. And that's only what, 10, 8, 9, 10 pitchers I named.
You skipped Bumgarner.
Yeah, I did because I'm not particularly high on him at that price. But you know
20% ownership on Bumgarner right now.
He's always high owned. It's crazy. He always gets – look, Bumgarner's a great pitcher. He's better at home for obvious reasons. That's another park I'm willing to look at the splits. So, yeah, sure, throw Bumgarner into the mix as well. It's really deep.
It really is. It's crazy at the top. So I'll have some Strasburg, but it's not as if he's broken free from the pack or anything for me. Nats Bats, 3rd in ownership on FanDuel, 4th on DraftKings right now. I don't have the same sort of feel for this one. Are you trying to attack Lambert?
I think that Lambert has been so dreadfully bad. And I get it, pitching at home doesn't exactly do him any favors. But when you take a look at how this guy has done against lefties, that's been the biggest issue for him. 404 WOBA, 353 ISO, 2 3/4 home runs per 9. Horrible numbers. Now, against righties, he's also been bad. Granted, he's only faced like 160 total batters from both sides. So there's that. But he gets no strikeouts. And that's the thing. He's striking righties out at 12%. Just a really dismal number. I think he's been a little bit unlucky, and Coors doesn't help him there. But I want to ask you this. The Nats this year, I think to a lot of people's surprise maybe, while they've definitely been one of the best teams in baseball over the past 2 months, they have a bottom 10 WRC plus against righties on their active roster and really haven't been good in any specific category there since the beginning of the year.
Yeah, they're a team that I don't generally get to all that much.
I like them against lefties a lot.
I like individual bats from there a lot. Like today, I'm happy to get Soto, Matt Adams. I get Trey Turner a lot, but I tend to get leadoff hitters more than most people.
Yeah, I mean, a couple of things. I totally agree with you on Soto. If Adams is in the lineup, 100% with you on that. Like Eaton, I have a tough time with Eaton. It's tough because you're not gonna get a ton of power, and you want guys on base because he doesn't steal bases anymore. So what are you really getting from Eaton? Once in a while he'll have good games, but I agree with you for the most part, Soto and Adams. But if they come in and they're not a popular stack, and we're seeing that they're not going to be that popular on a 15-game slate, I'll have a lot of interest in Washington.
Yeah, they are popular now, though. So, they are, but like they're not. They're 4th. So they have 6.6 aggregate ownership on DraftKings, but like the highest number on the slate is 9.9. So it's not as if there's some like crazy chalky stack.
Right.
Soto and Adams would be the bats that I like here, and then on the Rockies side, I mean, even though it is Strasburg, like $4,200 Nolan Arenado on DraftKings seems pretty appealing to me.
Yeah.
But I don't want to stack up Colorado.
No, but I agree. That's clearly a good spot.
I don't have much else on Colorado here. I mean, Charlie Blackmon at 1% ownership is always interesting.
Look, again, yesterday I said Fetty could be in play just because of how cheap he is. Good thing that postponed because it forced you on the Nova if you were considering it like me. Strasburg, you kind of said it. He doesn't give up a lot of power. I think with so many games on this slate, you're going to find a lot of low ownership. I don't personally need to go here for the Rockies.
Agreed. Keep it moving.
Let's do it.
All righty. Pirates and Cardinals. 4.7 run implied total for the Pirates. 4.3 for the Cards. Chris Archer going for Pittsburgh. Dakota Hudson going for the Cards. No ownership going to Hudson, but Archer, 19% on Yahoo, 9% on FanDuel, 35% on DraftKings. Chris Archer is the chalkiest pitcher of the day on DK. How does that make you feel?
He's another one of those guys that always seems to garner a lot of ownership. It just always seems to be the case, and one of the reasons is obviously he's just cheap. So I get it. I'm okay with it. And the reason why is the same exact reason I was okay with it last start. He wasn't great, wasn't bad, 19 DraftKings points. This is right now a bad St. Louis offense, Josh. And that's not like hyperbole. They're not good right now. You're still without arguably your two best hitters in Matt Carpenter, and you're without Marcell Ozuna, and you're without Yadi Molina. So it makes things pretty ugly. And this is a St. Louis baseball team now that ranks 28th in WRC plus against righties, better than only the Marlins and the Tigers. They have a 144 ISO that also ranks 29th, 303 weighted on base average, 28th. And the biggest thing here, the active roster now has a strikeout rate that is the 8th highest in the league. So I think it's a good spot and a good park for Archer, and I'm on board.
Yeah, I'm a fan of Archer in general. I think that 35% is too much for
I think it's going to come down.
15 gamer. Yeah, you would think. There's just this big mass of guys from like Chirinos to Roark where I'm not really confident in any of them. I don't need 35% Archer, but I think he's probably the best of all of those guys in that group.
Yeah, I mean, do you need to have 35% of him? I'm not saying that, but it the way I see it is he's 35% for a reason. If Archer was 35% at 9K, I would probably not have any, but at
Right.
7,500, that leaves some meat on the bones to have a really, really good start against this St. Louis team that's begun striking out a lot more.
Oh yeah, for sure. There's so many guys like Kyle Gibson is essentially unowned 1%. Kenta Maeda at 7%. It's just easier to spread out a little bit.
By no means am I suggesting that there aren't going to be some viable pivots.
Yeah.
That's not at all what I'm saying. But Gibson's facing the Yankees, Maeda's facing the Angels, Archer's facing St. Louis. So we'll get there. Merrill Kelly, by the way, is another guy who I would have thought is going to get some ownership, and he is, but not a lot, 11%. So that really wouldn't be the worst pivot off of Archer either.
Totally agree. We are not rostering Dakota Hudson, so ownership in the bats. Pirates are 11th on FanDuel, but Cardinals are 8th, 14th on DraftKings. Neither team really getting a lot of love. Doesn't strike me as a particularly great offensive environment. I have both of these teams ranked in the 20s. Outside of like, I don't know, $13 Paul Goldschmidt on Yahoo or something, I don't get the sense that I'll have much offense on either side of this game.
It's tough because the one thing that always comes into my mind here is that Archer, as much, as I like him in this spot, he's been a home run machine this year. And if he's going to be owned by 35% of the field, I don't think it's a crazy idea to look at some of these bats for St. Louis. And one of the reasons for that is you're not overpaying on any of these guys. Like Goldschmidt's not very expensive. Edman, DeYoung, none of these guys are overpriced, Josh. So it actually doesn't make for the worst spot if you wanted to go there. And as much as Archer should be able to have a good game, it's a monster leverage spot for a guy that's giving up 2.5 home runs per 9 to lefties and 2.02 to righties. That's an issue.
Yeah, it's a completely valid hedge stack against that Archer ownership on DraftKings, especially when you don't have anybody more expensive than 4,300. You can fit them in with just about anything you want.
Right. And you can pay a premium for Bauer or for Sale or for Strasburg, even though Sale's underpriced.
It's not as if you're going to be super shocked if Jose Martinez, Paul Goldschmidt, and Paul DeYoung go yard today.
Right. I mean, dude, they've been bad this year, but those guys, you got to think there's going to be some regression back to the mean, Josh, in a positive way.
Right. Yeah, I agree. They can't all be washed.
All right.
Maybe.
I don't know.
What the hell do I know?
Losing Ozuna has burnt them up, man, because he was the one guy kind of anchoring that offense, driving in runs when they needed it.
Yeah, they certainly need him back.
Do you like Josh Bell or anybody here? Because obviously Hudson's biggest struggles come against left-handed power.
Not really. I mean, it's, Pirates have a 4.7 run implied total. It's just really uninteresting
Yeah,
on a 15 game slate.
I don't hate Corey Dickerson if you can get him at a good price, but
I see where you're coming from there. 2,700 on FanDuel is a little bit more appealing.
yeah, 44 is a bit much on DraftKings.
I think that's probably enough on this game.
Yeah, I think we tackled it.
Blue Jays and Indians, 4.1 run implied total for the Jays, 5.3 for the Indians, 63% chance to win for Cleveland. Aaron Sanchez going for Toronto, Trevor Bauer going for the Indians, 26% ownership on Bauer on Yahoo, 9 on FanDuel, 8 on DraftKings. Bauer is the most expensive pitcher on FanDuel and DK. He's the 5th most expensive pitcher on Yahoo, so that makes some sense. How do you want to manage Trevor Bauer today, where he's just sort of a bit too expensive for how many other guys are viable?
Yeah, yesterday I had mentioned that Clevenger could be a viable pivot off of Sale. Not obviously not Garrett Cole, not a Cole fade by any stretch. Cole was the first guy in my article, the deep dive, which you can find on awesomemode.com. First guy written up, basically with the notion that he's so good it doesn't really matter, but Clevenger is getting no ownership whatsoever, so I could see him having a really good game, and he's been a big-time double-digit strikeout guy in a bunch of starts already this year. So taking that logic, applying it towards today, he is more expensive than Sale, at least on DraftKings, and on FanDuel, he's quite a bit cheaper.
Yeah.
If you wanted to get away from that, as far as ownership goes, Trevor Bauer, the question I always ask myself if I'm looking for one of these pivots is, can they have the monster game? And Bauer certainly can. Like, Bauer could go out there and strike out 12 or 13 batters.
Yep, 100%.
Right. So because of that alone, I'm never going to write someone like him off against the Toronto team that's going to strike out at a pretty high clip.
Yeah, it's not to say that he's a bad play or anything. He's a fantastic play today. He just so happens to be less cost efficient than just about everybody else.
Exactly. And that's the thing. So if I saw him at the top, if I saw him in the winning tournament lineup, I wouldn't be surprised.
No, not at all. Not at all. Especially against this Blue Jays team.
Right.
9th in strikeout rate against righties, their active roster. 93 weighted runs created plus this season. They still got some pop, but otherwise.
Yeah, Indians minus 168.
Yeah.
Favorites. So,
4.1 run implied total for the Jays. It's a great spot for Bauer. Just so happens that there's a ton of potential pitchers on today's slate, and they're all cheaper than him, except for on Yahoo, where then you just definitely want to play him.
Yeah, Yahoo definitely could be an exception there. Saving $10 is huge.
Yeah, that's 5% of all of your money.
Yeah.
So yeah, I have no problem getting to Bauer. I assume I'd have somewhere in the neighborhood of the field. But, I could easily just pay up for 2 arms and find some bats elsewhere. Plenty of cheap stacks out there to go around when all 30 teams play.
Yeah, there are.
We're skipping Aaron Sanchez, correct?
Yes, please.
Perfect. Ownership in this game from a bats perspective, nobody really on the Jays on FanDuel. Indians are 12th on FanDuel, tied for 5th on DK. Not much ownership going to the Jays on DK. Do you have any interest in this game from a bats perspective? Let's say outside of Francisco Lindor, who is pretty much a great play every day.
The interesting thing about Sanchez is, like, as bad as he's been, he really doesn't. So many of his starts are just a lot of walks and then singles, doubling in runs. He doesn't give up as much power as you'd think for a guy that's been as bad as he is in the run prevention department. But another thing that I find strange about Sanchez is this guy has always had, pretty routine splits in terms of struggling more against lefties than righties. This year, though, he's allowing a 380 WOBA to righties with a whip that is just a tick below 2 and a 613 xFIP. But he hasn't given up much power to them. So with Cleveland, if they're very expensive then I would probably get away from them. They're not crazy overpriced. The
Mm.
problem is none of them are actually cheap. So you're not really getting, I guess with Kipnis would be the only one where you're getting any value. Even Perez is kind of pricey for a catcher.
Yeah, I think they're probably a little overowned. I'll have Lindor as a one-off like I always do. I could see a little bit of Jose Ramirez one-off, but I don't feel like I'm going to get to a full Indian stack. I have them ranked 11th, but we have them at 5th, so that's usually a gap that is not helpful for me, and I'll end up coming in under that number. Ryan in YouTube chat just said, YouTube chat gives me hope 16% rake is still beatable.
16% what?
YouTube chat gives me hope 16% rake is still beatable. Kudos, Ryan. Kudos. Yeah, look, I'm going to have some Indians, but I think I'll be under the field here, which I'm not really happy about because I think Sanchez stinks, but just kind of a function of the slate. And then I don't have any real interest in anything on the Blue Jays side, more so on Yahoo than anything else. Biggio, Guerrero, Smoke are either $9 or $10, and I think that's kind of appealing.
For sure. There are just some pitchers, oddly, that while they're not good, they aren't like some of them just don't make for the best stack against guys. And that doesn't mean that they won't get blown up from time to time, but I much prefer the guy. I prefer stacking, if you gave me Sanchez and you gave me like Dylan Bundy, with Dylan Bundy, he could walk out of there after 2 innings with 5 home runs allowed.
Yeah, Sanchez doesn't get like blasted. He's just not very good.
Right, and he's so inefficient. He loads the bases so often that a lot of times you just see these runs trickling in.
Eric S. says, wait, did Josh just say he's playing Sanchez? No, he did not.
Definitely did.
Did I?
No.
Oh, I would like, if I did, I didn't mean it.
I would hope everyone would have caught on to that,
No.
but no, I didn't hear it.
I might have tried to say Ramirez and said Sanchez. I don't know.
I think you're in the clear.
Mets and Padres. This one should be fun to talk about. 4-run implied total for the Mets, 4.5 for the Padres, 55% chance to win for San Diego. Jason Vargas going for the Mets, Chris Paddock going for the Pods. No ownership to either one of these pitchers right now. I would have some interest in Paddock if he wasn't ridiculously expensive on this particular slate, but I'm pretty cool with not having either guy. Is anything standing out for you with regards to Vargas or Paddock?
I mean, the problem is just that Paddock, as good as he last week on DraftKings, Paddock was way underowned because he was a little bit expensive, but he was facing the Marlins. In a spot like that, I'm willing to overpay for Paddock 10 times out of 10 because he is really good. He is phenomenal against righties. However, in a spot like this, I don't think the matchup is pristine enough to give him that appeal when he's so closely priced to Sale and Strasburg and Nola and all of these other guys. So it's not that I'm never willing to pay up for a guy like Paddock. It needs to be in a better spot than this, and I don't think it's worth it.
Totally agree. Nobody really owning the Mets right now. They are 18th in ownership on DraftKings, literally unowned on FanDuel. But what we need to talk about are the Padres. They are 4th on FanDuel. They are 3rd on DK. To me, they are either my top stack or my second stack. I love them here. Vargas has some pretty significant problems against right-handed power, something that the Padres have a wealth of. So I get why the public is there. The interesting piece is that it's all in 3 guys. Machado, Renfroe, and Reyes. 14%, 14%, 16%. Next highest guy is just 4%. So it doesn't look like people are getting there as a full 5-man stack, and I think that's a mistake. I really like the Padres as a full-on stack here.
Is this on DraftKings specifically?
Tatis has 9% ownership on FanDuel, which is really weird because he's the most expensive hitter.
Well, the reason I'm asking is because
they're chalky on both sites.
Okay.
In
Machado,
total, but it's still
Renfroe,
those 3 guys.
Yeah. Was Reyes the third one you said?
Mm-hmm.
Fremora, 39 on DraftKings. Renfroe's 45. Machado's 46. So it's really, it's not that crazy. And then, you got Hosmer as a lefty. I do see what you're saying. Now, you would think that the others would be at least a little bit closer. Um, I don't disagree with you, but it's hard to quantify how much money Vargas has lost me this year, stacking against him.
I do it constantly. And then I go back and I look at this stuff and I pull up Vargas's data and see that he's allowed a 208 ISO, a 192 X ISO to right-handed hitters over these past 2 seasons. Every pitch that he throws to righties has a 158 or higher X ISO. So no matter what he's pulling out of the bag of tricks, it seems to be getting blasted by righties. I wish it were in a different park, but the raw power of Tatis, Machado, Renfroe, Reyes, Mejia, even from the right side, Kinsler, I guess, for a $2,900 second baseman, is certainly worth a shot. I think people are making a mistake if they're not stacking this up fully and just trying to get those 3 guys as like relatively chalky plays. Franmil Reyes for $3,900 though, what a steal!
I mean, everything you just said is why I've stacked against him so much this year.
Yeah,
but,
me too.
like, yeah, it's crazy. Just to give you an example of what we're working with here, Garrett Cole infrequently throws a changeup, maybe 6-7% of the time. Garrett Cole's changeup is 5 or 6 miles per hour faster than Jason Vargas's fastball. Think about that.
Getting by on
84 miles per hour.
Vagisil and whatever else he's got under the brim of that cap.
84, man.
Sign me up for some Padres, but I like them more trying to get all of the Padres than just trying to grab that chalky Machado, Renfroe, Reyes trio. Not that I don't like those guys. They're clearly fantastic. I mean, but Machado's 4,600 as a third baseman shortstop. It's not like he's not cheap-ish.
Right. I agree with you on San Diego, though. And I think the idea of getting to a full one there makes sense because this is a Padres team that has power, and there are gonna be games where you stack the Padres and they just finish with like no runs, right? And 12 strikeouts. There are also going to be games where they put up monster numbers and hit, a grip of home runs because they actually have the 6th highest ISO in the league against lefties.
Ooh, sorry, I've been told that 2 years is too big of a sample. So in 2019, Jason Vargas has a 200 X ISO against right-handed hitters and a 181 X ISO against left-handed hitters. He stinks no matter what sample you would like to pick. The dude gives up power. A 200 ISO is
2 years is
massive.
Too much of a sample?
Yeah, of course.
How is it too? Dude,
wasting your time on this one.
Well, but
even shrink it to 2019. It's just as bad because he sucks.
The only thing different that he's doing this year, opposed to last year, is throwing more of his four-seamer and less of his sinker. That's the only thing that he's doing differently.
I mean, yes, he's got a good ERA or something stupid.
I don't know. I'll bet you this. What's his ERA at?
4.25.
Okay. So that's pretty it's stable now. 1 or 2 bad starts isn't going to move it around that much this far into the season. He will finish with a 5+ ERA.
He should. What he deserves.
He will. There's just no way.
Got a 5.10 Sierra right now and a 5.18 xFIP. He's given up hard contact in 40.8% of his plate appearances.
It's funny. Yeah, it's funny because most baseball minds, like the guys that really study this, and Tom Tango, most of them would
Josh
tell
Engelman.
Most of them would tell you 2 years isn't enough of a sample.
Correct. But let's not get bogged down by facts.
What are we using? 2-week splits?
Yeah. By every metric that I can find, this dude gets blasted by right-handed hitting.
Yeah.
And it's not exactly like awesome against lefties either.
Like if he hasn't changed much up, I'm not trying to be an asshole. I mean, really try work. If he really didn't change much up outside of a little bit more fastball usage or four-seam usage, you want to go back as far as you can to see what this guy has done and to see where he struggles because we have a whole lot of information on him.
What I think is really interesting is that and this is going to be a problem for him. well, not for him, but like a problem for pitchers in general. There's a sweet spot of gap between a fastball and a changeup speed, and his fastball is losing steam pretty quickly as he ages. But his changeup is basically sitting in the same spot, so he's getting less deception from the fastball to the changeup as he ages, but the changeup's not changing at all.
Oh yeah, no, that's been an issue for him for the past couple of years now. If you've got no,
we're shouting at the sky right now. We're missing the point because Vargas has been two different pitchers in his career, and right now he's been effective.
Right, but
that's just not true. He hasn't been effective. That is the problem in that statement. He has not been effective.
But even if he has, that's not predictive value. Like if just because he may have been effective doesn't mean that by the numbers we should expect him to be effective going forward.
Right. Should we still view King Felix as an ace still? What are we talking about here, man? You are so off base in this.
Is this the same guy?
Yeah. Was he an ace 2 years ago? I didn't say that we have 10 years of samples against Jason Vargas.
Why would we view King?
Because we're using these monstrous 2-year sample sizes.
Yeah, well, he rapidly deteriorated because he was throwing 250 innings a year.
This is absolute insanity. Absolute insanity. Yeah, I'm gonna play the Padres against Jason Vargas. If you guys want to lose money, you can do the opposite. I don't really have any Mets bats, although I'm in for Conforto.
I'm good here. I have a lot of respect for Paddock.
Yeah, you and me both. He's actually good.
Yeah.
Yeah, the longer the sample, the better. Nobody makes themselves better by throwing data in the garbage. You weigh it differently.
And look, disregard what we're saying if they've made noticeable changes that imply they should be better. Like that's what I'm talking. Like Matthew Boyd made noticeable changes that suggested he should be better.
Jason Vargas has been throwing like a 50-year-old man since he was 22.
Right. But how many pitchers could you could go to a lot of pitchers where they've made Garrett Cole and Charlie Morton when they came from Pittsburgh to Houston, made significant changes, increased spin rate, way more fastball, which is different though.
Because they're young.
What?
Yeah, because they're young.
Right, which is different than Vargas throwing more four-seamer than sinker because it's 84 miles per hour. Garrett Cole's throwing more of a 97 mile per hour fastball that leads the league in whiffs per swing.
Right. There's basically no metric outside of the stats that people looked at in 1982 that makes Jason Vargas look like anything other than someone you want to stack against.
Yeah.
If we could only go by the stats on the back of his baseball card, we might be looking at him a little bit differently. Tigers and Phillies. I'll give you a chance to talk about your boy Nola. 3.7 run implied total for the Tigers. 4.4 for the Phils. 57% chance to win for the Phillies. Matt Boyd going for the Tigers. Aaron Nola going for the Phillies. And now we're comparing Jason Vargas to Greg Maddux. If you think that Greg Maddux threw like a 50-year-old man when he was in the majors, you have no idea how good Greg Maddux was.
Yeah.
Because he didn't. He didn't. That's the common misconception that he was some soft tosser. Not the case at all. Unbelievable. Okay. Yeah, maybe when he was 44 and still pitching.
You got Josh heated, man.
It's silly. It makes people worse at this when they read that garbage.
So Nola's a weird one for me because he is a really good pitcher, but he also doesn't have the same swing and miss stuff as a lot of these guys either. I think the biggest thing though, and it's really important, is that Nola is incredibly good at getting called strikeouts. I mean, and I don't just, he doesn't even, sure, it helps to have a pitcher's ump. But if you just go out and watch a game where Nola's, go watch even his highlights on the strikeout pitches from where he's got like, the 8 or 9 or 10 strikeout games. He puts the ball where you not only can't hit it, but where you really are never going to swing either.
Right.
and he's very, very good at painting those corners, getting that curve to break back into the zone. Uh, when that's working for him, because rarely do you see a guy with a sub 10% or single digit swinging strike rate that also has a 32% called plus swinging strike rate. I mean, he has the most called strikeouts and called strikes in the league, and nobody should really be surprised by that. So, yeah, it's a spot that I'm willing to exploit. I have no faith in the Detroit Tigers' ability to to beat him up here. And Nola is while he's not been great against righties, I expect him to only get better there. He's got the WOBA below 300, 24.7% strikeouts. I expect that to increase. I expect his K rate versus lefties to come down uh, because we have a pretty sizable sample on him and he hasn't done anything different. This is a spot where Nola could really give you really good numbers. It's just a matter of, can you prioritize him over the other names we have? And right now, for me, that's a really tough decision.
It's a tricky spot, man. 10% ownership on Yahoo for Nola, 4% on FanDuel, 10 on DK. I like him across the board, but I also like Boyd, 18% on Yahoo, 2% on FanDuel, 3% on DK. I just want to have both of these pitchers and probably more than the field.
Yeah, I'd be okay with that. And it's not going to be hard really to get over the field on either of them.
And we know that Adam will like Boyd, so I should say like something PCRA strikeout rate. I like Matt Boyd today, like I liked Sonny Gray. Did I get it? Did I hit that one?
Not bad, not bad. It sounded just like him.
But this time I agree with him.
Oh yeah, I have no issues with it at all. The Phillies are not a bad team against lefties, but I mean they've had pretty treacherous stretches of games this year. I guess the big thing for me is just that if both of these guys are similar pitchers, I'll take the better matchup here. But yeah, the Phillies, it's pretty crazy now. You have their active roster now that, boy, it's gotten a whole lot worse against lefties since the last I looked. Yeah, that
what is it right now?
98 WRC plus, which is,
to be fair, I have them projected for 100, so maybe they're exactly what we think. Maybe they are what we thought they were.
Yeah, it's very possible. It's very possible. I don't know. They do have plenty of righty power, but like I said, ever since McCutchen went down, this team is really kind of falling apart. Having him,
oh
in
my
the
god, I
leadoff.
totally forgot they had Andrew McCutchen,
and he was leading the league, and he was leading the league in a bunch of categories as a leadoff guy.
That's how long this season is. Because I was playing a ton of McCutchen at the beginning of the year. He was pretty underpriced, and now it's just like I forgot that he was on the team.
I know, man.
So Boyd is not getting any ownership on DraftKings right now. However, the Philadelphia Phillies have the second most ownership on DK.
Because they're cheap.
They are very cheap. Most expensive guy on DraftKings, either a $4,100 Harper or $4,100 Kingery. I have the Phillies ranked as my number 4 team, but man, I don't get the feeling that I want to have a lot of Phillies against Matt Boyd. 4.4 run implied total?
I could see myself, and it's only one piece here, but it could make a big difference. If Gene Segura remains out today, because he left Sunday's game with heel soreness, if he's out here, he's one of the lowest strikeout guys on the team. Really, Gene Segura doesn't strike out ever.
No, 13% in Steamer.
Yeah, he dribbles balls out to the second baseman, but he still doesn't strike out. Basically, whoever replaces him is going to probably have a double that K rate. So that could make a big difference as far as Boyd's projection goes for me.
Oh, I mean that would massively change his outlook. Just swapping him out for even just a league average strikeout guy is a pretty big swap for him.
Yep.
Not to mention Segura getting 17% ownership right now, $3,600 shortstop.
The problem I have is that I would be happy to do like a 2 or 3 player Phillies stack, just because Boyd definitely gives up power. I mean, You look at these home runs he's allowed over his last 5 games. Listen to this. 3-3-2-0-2.
Yeah.
Multiple home runs in 4 of his last 5. He's allowed 21 homers on the season and almost exclusively to righties. So that's a big deal, but
it's pretty hard to not like Rhys Hoskins today.
Right. And you know what?
Or Realmuto too.
Boyd struggled a bit lately, man. He's allowed 4 or 5 earned runs in every one of his last 6 starts. And it hasn't been the toughest matchup. So I still think he's really good. The strikeouts have still been spectacular. But yeah, I can see both sides of this.
This is probably Boyd's last start in Detroit, right?
You would think so. But the upside and the leverage is just so much higher for Boyd if Philly's going to be popular.
Yeah. Yeah, if Boyd is 3%, I think that's a mistake. Not that he should be like 60 or something like that, but I think 3 is too low for a guy with his sort of ceiling against the Phillies lineup. That there's some talent in there, but it's not it's not problematic. And then for Nola, he's just good, and the Tigers aren't. $7 Miguel Cabrera, $7 Kristen Stewart on Yahoo. Something to look at that's getting no ownership, but I don't want any Tigers against Nola.
I really have no interest in that.
Bingo. It's Steven in YouTube chat, just because I want to pat myself on the back because it's fun. I know someone in here called the Suarez double dong yesterday.
You didn't call it double dong, though.
I would have. I'm prone to hyperbole.
Fair to me.
Keeping it moving. You did. Yeah. Well, I did. Rays and Red Sox. 3.3 run implied total for the Rays, 4.2 for the Sox, 60% chance to win for Boston. Yanni Chirinos going for the Rays, Chris Sale going for the Red Sox, no ownership going to Chirinos, but 29% going to Sale on Yahoo, 28 on FanDuel, 30 on DraftKings. I have a hard time seeing this in any other way because especially on FanDuel, where Sale is only the 3rd most expensive pitcher. I think that he is the best starter of the day, and he is my favorite option of anybody. How do you feel about Chris Sale today?
Yep. I mean, it really is like Garrett Cole yesterday. The matchup might not be amazing, but Chris Sale is. So I don't see how much further we even need to take it than that. I think we can elaborate more on other games and save our breath here.
Yeah, he's just really good. Shouldn't be super shocking. I assumed he would have been more expensive.
He should be. But his price tag's been all over the map on DraftKings. He was 10,000 flat last game. 10,000 flat.
Up to 11 now, but so who would you rather have, him or Nola at 10-1? Is that $900 enough for you?
I'd still rather have Chris Sale.
Okay.
The point I was making with Nola is that I don't think we should ignore him either because it's Detroit and he is one of the best pitchers in baseball.
No, sure. I was just wondering where your threshold was. Like if Nola was priced like Caleb Smith at 9,400,
yeah,
probably getting a little bit closer to Nola over Sale.
For sure.
Okay.
Because I could easily see Nola giving you 35 fantasy points here.
Yeah, no doubt about that. Rays bats are essentially unowned. I have them ranking 27th, so I don't get the sense that this is a spot where I'm going to be doing a major hedge stack. Boston, 26th in ownership on FanDuel, 19th on DraftKings. I have them 12th. I mean, I expect to have more than the 0 that's happening right now outside of $4,100 JD Martinez, which what are they doing?
That's insane.
It's stupid. And he's only 8% owned. What are the other 92% of the people doing?
I don't get it. I mean, sure, he hasn't had the greatest season, but he's still easily one of the premier power bats in this league. I mean, like you said, there's no reason to ignore someone like Martinez. You know, Benintendi is also pretty cheap. The Boston Red Sox are interesting because Devers is expensive. I don't know. By the way, I don't know if Michael Chavis is going to be. He didn't get to the IL yet. I don't think. It looks like he could be heading there. I mention it because he's also cheap. I mean, hell, if you wanted to stack Boston, it's not going to be tough.
No, and I know that I will be for sure. I think Devers looks like the best play here. Chirinos has some struggles with lefty power, 185 x ISO over the past 2 seasons, and some of that coming in like more relief efforts. So even worse than that. I like the lefty power, but it's not like I'm gonna kick JD Martinez out of the bet on this one. 8% ownership on DraftKings, just 1% where he's 3,900 on FanDuel. These guys are going underrepresented for their talent. Not that and Chirinos is good or good enough. He's an above average starter.
No, he's fine. Yeah, you got to finish the line though. You're not going to kick him out of bed for what?
I don't know.
You don't know you don't know what the full line is on that? Ain't going to kick you out of bed for eating crackers.
Oh, I wasn't hearing line like the line of that. Like I was thinking more like betting line or like lineup, and I was just like, I don't know where you're going with
Vegas
this.
line on getting out of bed. Correct.
Yeah, sorry. No, I did know that. My bad.
All good, man.
Yeah, I'm gonna have more Boston than the public for sure. They are at 2.1% aggregate ownership on DK and 0.7% on FanDuel.
I'm interested to see what Alex comes up or what it shows on the top stack tool for their top stack probability.
There will be a gap if I had to guess.
They have to be at least like 5%.
You would think. Any Rays bats against Sale? I don't really have any interest. Travis d'Arnaud for 2,900 on FanDuel, but that's not like really where you're trying to get him.
Yeah, again, you're just you can get low ownership elsewhere, which is what makes it tough to fall in love with any of these guys, even if they're cheap.
Lowest implied total of the slate for the Rays today, so
as it should be.
All right, final game in the 7:00 window. Braves and Royals. Did I miss the Boston timestamp? I didn't. Man, sometimes when you're good, you're good. Boston versus who the hell did they play? No, Tampa's first.
What's amazing is you didn't forget to do it, but forgot that you did it.
Oh yeah, for sure.
And we spent maybe 3 minutes on that game.
I can. Yeah, it was not a lot. I got the memory like a goldfish, man. 30 seconds later, it's all gone.
I wonder why.
Damn. Ryan Van Wagenen YouTube chat. Sad as shit. Guys, I'm so lonely. Eek. I mean, you should call somebody.
Yeah, I don't know, man.
What's that Logic song? Let me give him that phone number. 5.3 run implied total for the Braves. 3.7 for the Royals.
I'll tell you what to do, man. Join our premium Slack chat. You'll make plenty of friends in there. There's a couple of assholes, but most of them are good.
That might not be the right prescription.
Why not?
Maybe it is. Use the promo code MLB Strategy when you do it, and at least you could save yourself 50% of the fees.
You know what isn't the right prescription is social media.
That's very true. YouTube chat's not it.
YouTube chat's not it.
Sorry, guys, on YouTube chat.
Twitter.
Josh, what's your number? Oh, man. Hold on. Laffy gave me his a couple days ago. Read that out on the air.
Yeah. Yeah, you do that.
I wish I had one that I could have gave up. That would have been really funny.
It would have been good.
5.3 run implied total for the Braves, 3.7 for the Royals, 67% chance to win for Atlanta. Dallas Keuchel going for the Braves, Danny Duffy going for the Royals. No real ownership going to the pitching here, although Keuchel is at 10% on DK, which doesn't really feel all that appealing to me. But
10% too high.
Yeah, I'm pretty indifferent to this one from a pitching perspective.
The issue I have with it is Keuchel a bad pitcher? No, he's not a bad pitcher. But is he a good fantasy pitcher? No, he is literally the furthest thing from a good fantasy pitcher. He's got an 8% swinging strike rate, 23% called plus swinging strike rate, which is really bad. I mean, that is really bad. In context, it is the lowest on the slate. The lowest on the slate. And if you just look at these games, you know, how does he do? Where is fantasy points coming from? It's pretty obvious. They're coming almost exclusively from being able to limit runs and go 7 innings. If he doesn't limit runs, if he doesn't get deep into the game, he's not going to cushion the fall with strikeouts I know that he's not super expensive, but I can't get to Keuchel against the KC team that sure they're not good. Sure, Adalberto Mondesi is on the IL. There are some holes here, but they don't strike out that high at all,
No.
and that just makes it less appealing for me and for Keuchel.
15.6% K rate against righties over the past 2 seasons for Dallas Keuchel.
It's too big of a sample.
Well played. Now, look, if you get to a couple shares of Dallas Keuchel, I think you're fine with it. He could easily throw a complete game, but you're not. It's not like he's going to do it with 3 strikeouts and a lot of luck, so to speak.
Marco Gonzalez was the guy I wrote up in the deep dive yesterday and was basically like, look, he's a mid-range option if you need him, but he's also one of these guys who you need him to go 7. You need him to allow like 1 or fewer runs,
Yep.
which I believe yesterday he did,
Yeah.
and probably still only finished with like 23 fantasy points. That's what you're getting with Keuchel. There's no upside, and it might sound weird, but there's also very little floor because if he gets into any type of trouble, he can't get himself out of that with strikeouts.
Something I want to point out quick from Fabsy, and I mean this sincerely. He said Keuchel minus 210 favorite, $7,200 salary. I think he's good today. The key piece you want to remember there is that that's not really super meaningful. Like, he's a minus 210 favorite because he's a better real life pitcher than he is a DFS pitcher. And
well,
the Braves offense is 50% of that equation.
Exactly. The Astros total is 5.5.
Right. The Braves total?
Oh, I'm sorry. 5.8.
Yeah. So that makes him look like he's something that he's not for DFS purposes. Is he likely to pick up a win? Sure. On FanDuel, is he likely to get a quality start? Yeah, probably more than most. But don't overreact too much to a big starting pitching line as if that is because of him solely. So much of this has to do with the fact that the Braves get to face Danny Duffy.
Right. I mean, yeah. And the Braves are loaded with I'll make the transition now.
Yeah. They are the number 2 overall or owned stack on FanDuel right now, BT Dubs.
Yeah, which is, he just said BT Dubs, which is a little unfortunate. Saying that is unfortunate, but also the high ownership is equally unfortunate because I love the Braves against lefties, man. You know, there are so many variations of this stack that could go off.
Yeah.
From Ronald Acuna to Dansby Swanson, who's having a really good season, to Josh Donaldson, to Albies, who's way better from the right side of the plate. Freeman against lefties is good. If Flowers is in the lineup, like there's just so much you can do with this team when they're facing a lefty. And look, Duffy's not terrible, but he's another one of those guys who the strikeouts just haven't been there. I think this year 17% K rate against righties. It's been pretty ugly for him, and I wouldn't be surprised if Duffy got absolutely hammered tonight.
Yeah, the righties set up really well here. Riley, Acuna, Swanson, Donaldson. I'm in for these guys. Ozzy Albies much better from the right-hand side. Got to get some Braves. I think they're probably a little over-owned on FanDuel, but I like getting pieces of this. There's a lot to like, especially with that game total.
I agree with you.
Austin Riley, $11 on Yahoo, pretty appealing. And then for Royals bats, I don't really have much interest.
No. And again, like Keuchel could have a very solid game. I wouldn't be surprised by it. Just kind of pointing out here that even if he does, ask yourself where that production's coming from. And I usually am I have a little trepidation when it comes to guys who, Josh, when they need 7 innings, when they need to allow, 1 or fewer runs, because you just can't project them for more than 4 strikeouts.
Not at all. What do I have them for, actually? 4.4. You were right there, man.
Right.
Nice.
Yes. Maybe you'll get a situation like not Keller. Who's the Kansas City guy? Not Brad Keller, but Gary.
Enos?
What?
What are we talking about?
Glenn Sparkman.
Oh, okay.
Man,
Gary.
maybe you'll get a Glenn Sparkman situation where he just like scorched earth. Anyone who didn't play him is done, and he just breaks everything. But that's like a once in a season type deal. Maybe once in a career for Sparkman. If Keuchel did it today, it'd probably be once in a season. Like
For
7
sure.
innings, 10 Ks. There's no way he does that twice. Maybe you'll get lucky today.
And just to point this out so people don't take this information wrong, Steve Selfridge said Casey strikes out a ton though, so that should give him a strikeout bump. They do not strike out a ton.
No, I don't know where that number is coming from. They have a few guys that strike out a decent amount, but
They are 20th in strikeout rate on the season for their active roster, and against lefties, they are
19th.
yes, they are. So they do not strike out a ton.
Not a ton of power on the active roster. Totally understood, which is why Keuchel could have a really good game.
Yeah.
But that really good game, 9 times out of 10, will come by way of innings and run prevention, not by strikeouts. Strikeouts are the one thing that you can levy against a subpar overall performance, and you don't get that from Keuchel. That's all.
Bingo. Keeping it going. We got a lot of games to go. Astros and A's. Astros 5.2 run implied total. A's 4.3. 59% chance to win for Houston. Wade Miley going for the Astros. Mike Fiers going for the A's. Neither guy getting any ownership. Do you want Miley or Fiers?
No.
Perfect. Both teams sort of owned in the middle tier. They're in the 10 to 15th rank scenario for either side. I like a couple bats from each team, but this game kind of just exists to me. If I get some Springer, Altuve, Bregman, Brantley, Alvarez, I mean, you know what you're getting with the Astros. Talented hitters and some power potential. Kind of similar situation for Oakland. Some talented hitters with some power potential. I don't find either side like crazy appealing, but I'll probably have a little bit of both. Do you have anything that stands out in Astros A's that I'm missing here?
No, I've said it a lot this season. Wade Miley has been a very good real life pitcher. They were really wise to bring him on as the back of the rotation guy. Really smart. And it's funny because when you run Miley out there every 5 days, if you're the Astros, you're thinking, all right, we're going to get a good start and a quality or a quality start and a good chance to win from him. But that doesn't translate to fantasy production. And Oakland, is a very low strikeout team. Hell, against lefties this season, where do you think they rank on their active roster strikeout rate?
27th.
28th.
Shit.
28th, not bad. Athletics, the AAA. Angels, Astros, Athletics. 30, 29, 28. They're all down there. And while Garrett Cole can go out and wipe the floor with them, I don't expect Miley to do it, not at that price. I've honestly spent too much time talking about it already. And with Mike Fiers, he hasn't been bad this year at all, he hasn't been great. He hasn't been bad. He's another guy that just doesn't allow a ton of power. If I'm going anywhere in this game, it would be Houston bats, though.
Yep, I completely agree.
And you always have a cheap Chris Davis and everything.
Yeah, he's the only guy getting ownership. 15% right now on DK since he's priced ridiculously
through the floor,
and because he's been bad.
He has been bad. It's crazy because he got off to such a hot start in the beginning of this.
He had 15 plus home runs or something like that, didn't he?
I think he had 11 home runs through his first month or something.
Yeah. Rough stretch.
Rough stretch. Now we just say rough season.
That's true. Well, once he gets back up to 247 average, he'll be fine.
Yeah. Did he hit 50 home runs last year?
I have absolutely no idea.
I could be way off. I thought he did.
I don't know stats anymore.
48. He hit 42, 43, 48 over the last 3 seasons, and then 16 this year. kind of a perfect example of if nothing's changed, if there's not an evident hole in his swing, we should see some improvement for Chris Davis.
You would think.
I just don't know when.
Neither do I. Minnesota Jakes taking on the Yankees. 4.8 run implied total for Minnesota, 5.2 for the Yanks, 53% chance to win for New York. Kyle Gibson going for the Twins. Domingo Herman going for the Yankees. Neither guy getting any ownership. I don't really want either pitcher. Both teams kind of scare me from a power potential. Implied total on this game is kind of high. I don't need Gibson or Herman in those salary tiers where we have just better options today.
I'm with you. By the way, just to point it out, Chris Davis had 5 home runs in his first 7 games and 10 home runs in his first 15. It's crazy,
Good
man.
God.
Talk about blowing an early load.
Yeah. God. I don't know. I'm Chris Davis. Any Gibson or Herman?
No. No, I know you mentioned a low owned. Herman's good. There's just no way I'm paying for him here when he's surrounded by a group of really good pitchers in good spots. Kyle Gibson, I've been a Gibson truther for as long as he's been in the league.
Yeah.
And he can throw a lot of pitches if necessary. There's no limitations. That's good. But he's really one of the most, boom or bust or swing or miss type guys in the league. And I never, like I said to Adam the other 5 days ago, I was like, with Gibson, I have 100% stopped trying to evaluate him from start to start. He might have a good game because he's got really good stuff, or he might have a bad game because he throws his 2-seamer 90% of the time and doesn't throw his 3 breaking or off-speed pitches that are all above average. I don't know anymore. I really don't know. It's hard, but he's really good, or he could be really good. There's no way for me to know when, Josh.
I'm going to be massively over the field on this game. Both sides, Yankees and Twins.
Talk to me. Explain.
They're essentially getting no ownership. The Twins are 16th and 13th on FanDuel and DraftKings. The Yankees are 14th and 10th. I have these guys as like 2nd and 4th. It's just a game with an immense amount of power on both sides. Like Kepler, Cruz, Rosario, Sano, Scope, Judge, Hicks, Encarnacion, Sanchez, Gregorius, Voit, Torres. I mean, there can just be an infinite amount of home runs in this game. I get like Gibson and Domingo Herman, I think, are both good. I think Herman is a better DFS pitcher than he is a real life pitcher. But there's nothing to say that we can't get a bunch of home runs in this spot. So I expect to have, 2.5 to 3 times the field of both of these teams. There's just too much power potential for me.
I mean, I would never argue that. I'd never argue again. And my guess is the Yankees' ownership is going to be pretty low. Did you already mention it?
Yeah, they have 4% aggregate. They are ranked 10th on DraftKings. Nobody higher than 9% Gary Sanchez.
Right. Okay.
But like Aaron Hicks is at 2%. Like to get to 10% on Aaron Hicks is not going to be a big struggle for me. Revenge narrative? Was he a Twin?
Who?
Hicks.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah, revenge narrative and everything.
I actually think I like Minnesota more. And first of all, I totally understand where you're going on this game. But again, when you talk about power, Domingo Herman, look at some of these games, man. 2 home runs, 2, 4, 2. Another one of these pitchers that can go out there and give up, 3 home runs and 3 runs. That's not obviously what you're looking for, but the power is important. Do you think he's allowed? Let's see here. By the way, do you have Twins ownership right in front of you? Aggregate?
Yeah, they are at like 3% and change.
3%.
Yeah, they are. There's no ownership going to anybody here. The highest number is 8% on Cruz, but everybody else is 5 or below. Nobody is in double digits on FanDuel or DK for either one of these teams.
Okay. Herman's ISO against lefties and righties is not that high because, again, he's actually pretty good at run prevention, but he's allowing 2.5 home runs per 9 or 1.5 home runs per 9 to lefties and righties this season. So both of them are very capable of getting to him. And I think that's at least worth keeping in mind when you look at this matchup. Nice temperatures at Target Field, and he's got a 156 xISO, 171 against lefties. So not bad again, but not amazing. And the Twins are really, really good against righties.
Wouldn't be surprised to see one or both of these teams with a higher top stack percentage than their ownership.
Yeah, I totally agree.
And they're not exactly difficult to get to. I mean, Didi Gregorius is $3,900 as a shortstop on DK. The most expensive guy on the Yankees is $5,300 Judge. He's the only guy over 5K. He's the only guy over 5K on either one of these teams.
Crazy.
Easy to get to. And you know what? You should get there. And I don't need to open Photoshop right now, but for some reason I clicked on it.
Nice.
Yeah. Chick's hot in the picture. But I'm going to wait till this goes away so I can close it. Whoops. My bad. I was trying to click on the timestamp thing. Because I need to add in this silly little game here. I don't talk about it out loud. I forget. So it'll get annoying, but you guys are just going to have to deal with it. All right, White Sox. Do you have anything else for Twins and Yanks?
No, I'm good on that.
Okay. White Sox and Marlins. There's no way I have this entered right. 4.6 run implied total for the White Sox, 4.9 for the Marlins? That can't be right.
Why not?
I can't imagine that the Marlins are set to score 4.9 runs in anything.
Dude, they had a 5.1 run total yesterday, I think.
I couldn't get away from them either. Jerks.
Maybe they didn't, but it was at least very high. No, I remember saying, wow, the Marlins are at 5 runs.
Okay. Dylan Covey? I haven't had him in a while, and I forgot his pronunciation.
Dylan Covey?
Thank you. Not how I would say that, obviously.
Might be wrong.
Going for the White Sox. Caleb Smith going for the Marlins. That's the piece that matters the most. 4% ownership for Smith on Yahoo, 5 on FanDuel, 13 on DraftKings. He's 8,800 on FanDuel. He is my second favorite FanDuel pitcher today, behind Chris Sale. 8,800 is just too cheap for him against a team like the Chicago White Sox. Now, you need to remember, Caleb Smith gets blasted by right-handed hitters. Mm-hmm. And as of right now, they are projecting to run out 9 of them.
Yeah.
Most of them can't hit for power, but Yohan Moncada and Jose Abreu can.
You got 9 projected, Josh?
Yes.
Okay.
I mean, 3 switch hitters, but I assume they'll bat righty.
Yeah.
I really like Caleb Smith here, particularly on FanDuel, where I think he is going completely underowned. If he keeps the ball in the ballpark, he has the opportunity to rack up a ton of strikeouts, because I don't think that any of us are doubting his stuff.
No, Caleb Smith has been one of my favorite pitchers in the league for quite some time. I like a guy, he uses only 3 pitches, but all of them are wildly effective. Mm-hmm. And he is, like you said, so let me state one issue I have.
Hit me.
Go back to the home road splits. Marlins Park is one of these parks that is spacious enough to really suppress power and pad the power numbers for guys like Caleb Smith.
Yes.
16 home runs allowed. 13 of them have come on the road this season. 13 of them on the road. 3 of them at home.
Well, at least this isn't a good hitter's park.
What?
I said at least it's not a good hitter's park.
Yes, of course. Guaranteed rate field, I think, is actually more neutral than it.
I have the home run factors here. I just pasted in we didn't have lines for those final 2 games, so I just added them in. So once this pops up, I think it's like 106 or 107 righty lefty home run factors.
Yeah,
it's not appealing.
I thought it was a better than league average for hitters, but also not like crazy. Either way, it's not Marlins Park at all.
No, it's not. It's the opposite.
It is. Now, on the other side of this game, here's what I find appealing. Eloy Jimenez is still on the IL. That's good. And another guy, Tim Anderson, who might not be a monster power bat, but has been one of their better hitters this season, getting on base at a very high clip. He's on the IL. So those are 2 of their better right-handed hitters that won't be in the lineup today.
They don't really have many good right-handed hitters out of those 2
guys.
That's
the thing.
Yeah.
That's the odd thing. It's like the Marlins when you can run out 9 hitters and maybe 2 of them are semi-imposing hitters. Like Abreu, yeah, good bat. Moncada, he's fine, but he's not great from the right side. His team is, even if they run out 9 righties, these guys are not that impressive.
No, we're on the same page here. It's Abreu, it's Moncada. Yes, Wellington Castillo, 2,800. That's pretty appealing. He's at 25% ownership. The White Sox have the most ownership of any team on DraftKings today, but 25% Wellington Castillo at 2,800. 20% Jose Rondon at 2,100. I think I just found your cash game second baseman and catcher today.
You have him in the. Where do you have? You have him in the lineup?
Yes.
Batting
6th.
Yeah. Yeah, that's probably your guy.
Abreu at 3,900 might be one of the better one-off plays of the day.
What do you think of James McCann?
I have James McCann and Wellington Castillo both in the game projected for the exact same amount of fantasy points. So I have a hard time going to McCann over Castillo. But if I'm making a GPP lineup, that makes for an easy swap.
Mm-hmm.
He's at 6% ownership compared to Castillo's 25. Look, they're just really easy to get to, but I would rather have Caleb Smith's strikeout upside than stacking up the White Sox here. But I don't mind getting to like Abreu as a one-off. I probably wouldn't even mind having Abreu against Caleb Smith, at least on FanDuel.
Yeah, I wouldn't have the craziest problem with it.
I mean, I know I won't have it, but like it wouldn't freak me out.
He does have a 240. McCann has a 241 ISO against lefties this year, which is nice to see at least.
Yeah. Any Marlins bats for you?
No, I don't really have a lot of interest in the Marlins today, even though Dylan Covey is not somebody that concerns me at all. I would want at least some semblance of power, and the guys that you're going to get it from in this Marlins team, you're going to have to overpay for them, and I'm not overpaying for the Marlins on a 15-game slate.
Well, you must be a fish. Currently in ownership, the Marlins are the most owned team on FanDuel and 7th most owned team on DraftKings. They have 6 guys on FanDuel in double digits, including Curtis Granderson at 20. Yeah, I don't want them like that. They have them ranked 22nd, so I tried to get away from them yesterday. Didn't work on FanDuel. Had to nerf them as much as I could. Still came in a little bit under the field. I was able to get away on DK, but these guys are whatever the anti-optimizer stack is, these guys are the opposite.
I mean, is it really unrealistic to say whenever the Marlins are chalky, just fade them? It's the worst team in the league. Literally, it's the worst, particularly against righties.
I will avoid. I mean, you're better off unselecting them.
Right. So I just don't. I don't see where you're. They're bad enough to where if this team is very popular, even if they did throw up some runs, look, once in a while they do. Once in a while they have those monster games, right? They did it against DeGrom. They did it against Scherzer. But it's very few and far between, and the power just isn't there. Like Starlin Castro isn't going to hit 2 home runs. Just locked in 2 home runs for Starlin Castro. Starlin Castro generally isn't going to hit 2 home runs. Jorge Alfaro, whatever, you know what I mean.
Yeah, it's just don't follow that ownership on FanDuel, guys. If you want to fill out cash lineups with guys in this game, do so. They're cheap. That's why you do that, so that you can fill out the rest of your lineup elsewhere. But I do not like the Marlins as a GPP play really on either site. And I would be trying to steer away from some of that ownership on DraftKings to Castillo and Rondon if you want to stack them. But you can get there with some righty power against Caleb Smith because that is an actual big hole in his repertoire.
Yep.
Alrighty. Brewers and Reds, 4.4 run implied total for the Brewers, 5.1 for the Reds, 57% chance to win for Cincinnati. Zach Davies going for the Brew Crew, Tanner Roark going for the Reds. Neither guy getting any ownership. Do you have any interest in either pitcher?
I'm going to make this really simple, and I'll just give you my entire game breakdown right now
Okay.
because it's really only one thing I'm interested
Okay.
in. I've been talking about this for like 2 months now that Tanner Roark should come back down to earth, uh, especially against lefties, who he has actually struggled against throughout most of the season. He has a 403 x WOBA and a 408 WOBA against lefties. So he should be as bad as he's been. How about this? Against lefties, a 237 ISO, a 237 X ISO, identical. Really, really bad. And if you take a look at his home run rates, even worse. Tanner Roark on the season against lefties, 2.06 home runs per nine with 18% strikeouts and a 5.93 xFIP. Not going to work for you, pal, especially with a 29% ground ball rate. I look at the Milwaukee Brewers, and you can give me their aggregate ownership here. I'm assuming they'll be relatively popular, but they are expensive.
7th on FanDuel, 8th on DraftKings.
So that's not bad at all.
They are 5th for me, so I will have more than that.
Yeah, there is some cheap pitching. Mike Moustakas, Christian Yelich, Yasmani Grandal, Eric Thames. The lefty power in this lineup has so much potential against Tanner Roark, especially at Miller Park, that I'm just going to have a real tough time getting away from him.
Yeah, I like both sides of this game, actually. I was pretty heavy on the Reds yesterday. Didn't totally work as a stack, but Suarez carried me to some monies. But I just want to have offense in this game. Reds 5.1 run implied total. I'm not worried about Zach Davies. He's got bigger struggles against lefties than righties, so get me some Winker, Votto, Scooter. But it's not like Suarez and Puig can't hit home runs, or Senzel can't hit home runs against righties. The lefties for Milwaukee are obviously fantastic. We all know what Christian Yelich is. Grandal, Moustakas, Thames. This game and Twins, Yankees. I mean, this is just where I want to have most of my exposure today. I'm going to have a lot of both of these games. I think they're going a little underrepresented.
That's what, yeah. I don't have any interest in Cincinnati. I mean, Davies throws his sinker 60% of the time. 60% of the time. So even when he does get hit, unless he just misses terribly, they're not going to get much lift on that ball. 138 ISO against the pitch this season. Even though his ground ball rate's down on the sinker, they're just not making good contact at all against it. And that to me is a little bit concerning. So I don't think the Reds do as much for me as they do for you here. Just mainly because Zach Davies, while he's not good, throws that sinker 60% of the time, and until now it's been very effective at limiting power.
Yeah, righty's just not hitting him hard. The only saving grace really is that he just doesn't miss bats.
Right.
And on a day where your BABIP is against you, that could create some extra base runners.
Not going to argue that.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, he isn't the type of guy that just this isn't the same as, circling back like Vargas. Davies doesn't really get blasted.
He doesn't.
So
no,
he doesn't. Kind of Aaron Sanchez-y.
He's a damn enigma. Like, he doesn't get blasted, but he doesn't get any. I mean, he went 7 innings with 1 run and 0 strikeouts.
That's so hard to do, man.
Against Arizona. That is really tough to do. Do
you have a favorite bat in this game?
Yeah, I mean, Yelich, Moustakas, and Grandal are my 1, 2, and 3.
Yeah, $12 Grandal on Yahoo looks great. Minimum salary Scooter Gennett on Yahoo is probably the best play in this game.
Yeah. I don't have an issue with him either. That's pretty reasonable.
Milwaukee versus Cincinnati. Save, close. All right, keeping it going. Arizona Diamondbacks hosting the Baltimore Orioles. 4.9 run implied total for the Diamondbacks, 3.9 for the O's, 60% chance to win for Arizona. Merrill Kelly going for the D-backs. Dylan Bundy going for the O's. Ownership for these guys only coming in on DK, and it's basically the same. 11% for Kelly on DraftKings, 12% for Bundy on DK as well. That's pretty much exactly where I think both guys should be. Bundy is my favorite of the quote-unquote pay-down options, but favorite should be used pretty loosely. I don't really want to have either guy, but just because of the way their prices are set up, I think 10% of both is fine.
I'm okay with that. Merrill Kelly has been good enough, and the velocity is good enough. It's surely up from whichever league he was pitching at before, which was actually something Adam identified before his first start. Merrill Kelly's just not great and not bad, but he's not expensive either. He's another guy that isn't going to give you many strikeouts, but the more righties in the lineup, the better for me. So keep an eye on what we get here. How many righties do you have in the projected lineup for Baltimore?
5. 5 and Bundy, if Bundy hits righty.
Okay, so we'll say 6. 21.6% strikeouts, only 15.8% against lefties. So power has been a little bit of an issue for Kelly against righties.
Yeah.
But what's up?
He's gotten blasted by righties.
Yeah, but there isn't a ton of righty power in here. I mean, outside of Trey Mancini, like there isn't a whole lot that concerns me at all. Among the mid-range guys, the lower mid-range guys, I think Merrill Kelly's perfectly fine. And as far as Bundy goes, I'll let you touch on him. But I had mentioned it earlier. I actually forgot he was on the slate. If Arizona is not going to be popular against Dylan Bundy, I'm always on board to go out there and hope that he just gets lit up, because once every 4 or 5 starts, it happens to this guy.
17th in ownership. Nobody higher than 4%. Jared Dyson.
Yeah, I love that. And obviously, they're expensive, so that makes a difference. But you know what? As Osimo would say, pay up to be contrarian. This might not be a bad spot for that.
No, I totally get that. Bundy has the ability to give it up in bunches.
Mm-hmm.
If it wasn't for his ability to strike out righties, I would be very nervous here. But sometimes you just need to hope for the best at a low salary tier. You don't roster guys at 6K and below because you think that they're really good. Like, they all have some sort of problem.
And that's a good point. 6K on him leaves a lot of room for upside.
Yeah. If today's the day that he's missing bats and those fly balls or those home runs turn to warning track outs, could be good for him.
Yeah, he is one of the most, you talk about enigmatic pitchers. It's one of the oddest things I've ever seen. He's striking righties out at 29%. He's allowing a 313 ISO, not WOBA, ISO, 2.63 home runs per 9, and a 4.5 xFIP. The 4.5 xFIP is probably league average. I mean, this monster strikeout totals, borderline elite, and some of the worst power numbers in the entire league against righties, and a sub 300 BABIP. You look at lefties, striking them out at 19% and giving up way less power. It's really crazy.
We got the question in YouTube chat. Can Bundy hold runners? You don't have to when they can just trot slowly around the bases. Yeah. I have no idea. That's the least of my worries for Bundy.
I can give you an answer real quick.
Jacob Treadway says, Laffy, can you call and see if the roof will be open?
During the deep dive, I got you, bro.
There you go.
During the deeper dive. Yeah.
I enjoyed that. That was fun. Yeah. He made it happen. 350 people in here right now. Can we get a few more thumbs up? I haven't been bugging you guys for it, but perfect time to hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so you guys know when we go live.
We appreciate you.
Yeah, we do appreciate you guys. Very happy. We got to north of 1,000 people on the deeper dive and live before lock last night. Thanks to you guys.
It was awesome.
Really appreciate everybody coming out and checking all of our stuff out.
Dylan Bundy on this slate is right in the middle of the league in swipe rate above average.
Perfect.
He's allowed 7 stolen bases this season. Swipe rate above average is a baseball perspective stat. Yeah, he pretty much smack dab in the middle, takeoff rate above average and swipe rate. So average from everything I'm seeing.
Perfect. Anything else in Diamondbacks or Orioles?
No, but I think, like you said, if the D-backs are going to be around, bottom half of the slate in ownership, I'm definitely interested.
Yeah, I don't disagree there. That's a really nice spot, especially if Bundy picks up any steam too.
Right. For sure.
No, I did do it. Nope. I missed the Arizona game for a timestamp. Son of a bee sting. Let's just make up a time. What do you say? Arizona versus Baltimore. Done.
Bing, bang, boom.
Yep, 3 games to go. Giants and Cubs. I've got 3.7 runs across both sides. Coin flip game. Madison Bumgarner going for the Giants. Yu Darvish going for Chicago. Obviously a fantastic pitcher's park. Bumgarner, 34% ownership on Yahoo, where he's $37, which is an absolute travesty. 10% on FanDuel, 20% on DK. Meanwhile, Darvish, 14% on Yahoo, 3 on FanDuel, 6 on DraftKings. I prefer Bumgarner here as well. I think he's cheap enough that he works as a nice pairing with any of those more expensive guys if you want to double pay up at pitcher. But how do you feel about Bumgarner and Darvish today?
Darvish is fascinating, man. He's 6% right now on DraftKings, and a lot of that has to do with his price tag.
Yeah.
I don't see a real noticeable difference in projection between Bumgarner and Darvish today. You know, Darvish, they both have the same park, which is the best pitcher's park in the league. And Bumgarner, I think you could argue, is, a more consistent fantasy producer. But strikeout wise, you're not going to act like, he's well ahead of Darvish. On the season, Bumgarner has a 24.6% K rate, 12.1% swinging strike rate, and Darvish is at, pulling up right here. Okay, Darvish, 27.3% strikeout rate and 12.2% swinging strike rate. There's not a big difference here. And then as far as strikeouts for opposing teams goes, the Cubs against lefties this season are striking out a lot, and that's what makes a bit of a difference. They're striking out at the 3rd highest clip in the league, whereas the New York Giants. I'm getting in football mode, man. The San Francisco Giants are only striking out, I think, middle of the road. So that's your one difference, but
Yeah.
I like both of them.
Yeah, it's hard not to. This park saves everybody. Like Darvish has some struggles against lefty power. Bumgarner not great against righty power, but power's not great in this ballpark either way. I mean, the Giants are set to run out a ton of lefties against Darvish, but it's not like they're good.
Right. You know what's crazy? The Cubs have a lot of power against lefties, or at least a decent amount, 191 ISO, but they have the 5th lowest WRC plus.
Really?
I mean, it's pretty wild.
Yeah.
At 89, which if you're using that and their K rate would make Bumgarner even. I'm changing my tone a little bit here. Would make Bumgarner even more appealing, because if the one thing you're worried about is power, it's definitely going to be clamped down a bit at Oracle Park.
There's something about this park that I really love, where today's not the best example of it because of Bumgarner and Darvish, but sometimes I just love seeing like some sloppy garbage pitcher still look good, because this place is just impossible to be a huge offensive environment.
No doubt. Yeah.
Tyler, and no ownership going to the bats in this game, and I don't get the sense that you and I are going to be trying to get anybody here.
No.
2 to go.
We're actually probably coming in ahead of schedule, because we usually finish around 11:30.
Yeah, we'll be all right here. Hour 44 we're at so far. Dodgers and Angels, 5.3 run implied total for the Dodgers, 4 for the Angels, 63% chance to win. For LA, Kenta Maeda going for the Dodgers, Felix Pena looking to be the long guy for the Angels today. Maeda, 7% ownership on DraftKings is the highest number. Pena, no real love. I don't have a ton of interest in Maeda, although I like him as like a Chris Archer pivot if Archer stays at 35, but I'm not super interested in Maeda here against an Angels team that just does not strike out all that often.
So He's now pitched 2 games in a row where he came in relief. My concern here is Dave Roberts going to limit him because he's gonna end up using him out of the bullpen more? I don't know,
Hmm.
but he's pitched 2 straight games where both of them were relief efforts, 2 scoreless and 1 scoreless. I don't love that, uh, especially with a guy who, of this entire rotation, has had the tightest leash of any of them,
I know.
you know?
It's scary. It's scary.
Outside of, outside of maybe Ross Stripling, but I'm talking about like the good, the Rich Hills, the Clayton Kershaws, the Hyunjin Ryu, the Walker Buellers, those guys. Dave Roberts really loosened the leash on them and forgot about taking it off Maeda.
Yeah.
So against a team like the Angels, I'm pretty scared about it, to be honest. What do you make of the Dodgers bats though? Dodgers lefties against Felix Pena.
Hard not to like them.
I agree with you.
They're 5th in ownership on FanDuel, tied for 5th on DraftKings.
See, I thought they'd be a lot lower than that, honestly, because
I wish they were.
the whole facing relief pitcher things a lot of time brings that down. Not here, huh?
Jock, Verdugo, Bellinger, Muncy, Seager. It's hard not to like these lefties. Pena with major struggles against those guys.
God, look at those numbers against lefties.
Yeah.
263 ISO, 2.39 homers per 9.
Yeah, it's rough. 195 x ISO over the past 2 seasons
versus lefties.
Yeah, it's really hard to not like the lefty bats for the Dodgers, but it's not as if we're saying something people don't already know. Cody Bellinger is one of the best hitters in baseball. Max Muncy, tons of power. Jock Peterson, tons of power. I'll have some Dodgers. You can't get away from it. 5.3 run total. Paying your major struggles against lefties.
Yeah,
just be there, man. A Dodger stack looks pretty tasty. And outside of Bellinger at 5,600, they're not even expensive.
Nope. DraftKings continues to forget about Jock Peterson pricing. It's a little bit better now, but he's been real cheap.
And then on the Angels side, even if Maeda's not going long, I think that he's really good. I don't have a ton of interest in grabbing anything from the Angels outside of Trout or Upton or something like that. But I assume I won't have Angels.
Do you want? I mean, we know Trout's the best player in the world, but do you want him in this game where you have like Yelich against Roark, Bellinger against like? Is it actually, or is it just something we say every show because it's Mike Trout?
I just I wouldn't pick him to put him in my lineups today if I were
just
building one. But
yeah,
you never see Mike Trout and think like, gotta fix that shit.
Of course not. I'm just saying.
I don't advocate for him today, but he does not need me to advocate for him. There's not a bad matchup for Mike Trout. There are worse matchups for Mike Trout, but none of them are bad.
Yep.
He's still the best hitter on the planet.
Yep.
By a mile, too. I don't have anything else here. Final game?
Let's move it on, baby.
Closing it out now. Mariners and Rangers. Mariners 5-run implied total. Rangers 4.5. 55% chance to win for the Mariners. Tommy Milone going to be the guy for the Mariners. Pedro Payano for the Rangers is what I've got. Whatever that means. I don't know. I'm not playing either one of these pitchers. In particular, I'm not playing Pedro Payano. Any pitching for you in this game?
No.
Okay, thank God.
No, sir.
That makes it better.
I like to talk, but sometimes I don't find the need for it.
So, no real ownership going to the Mariners side of this game. Nobody higher than 3% ownership. Do you have any interest in Seattle bats?
I mean, the park is brutal, and I don't really know much about. Who do we have? Payano for Texas?
Yeah, whoever the hell that is.
I don't know who he is, dude.
Neither do I.
So, I mean, I guess. Sorry, not the greatest analysis there. Let me just pick it up real quick.
Yeah, he's only on FanDuel, as best I can tell, so it really doesn't matter.
Strikeouts, AAA 27%, AA 28%, He hasn't really. So let's go back to 2018. He pitched 118 innings at Double A, 6.6 Ks per nine. Does a pretty good job. He seems okay. That's really all I see from him. xFIP is in line with the ERA, which is about like low to mid fours at Double A, Triple A. He is, for anyone wondering, he is a right-hander. I don't know, dude. I would say he probably profiles, just by looking quickly at him, as like maybe a back of the rotation guy.
Yeah, at best.
And
So he's 5,500 on FanDuel. This guy will not be owned at all, and
No.
unavailable on Yahoo and DK. Which
I was talking
backwards.
more about hitters.
Yeah,
but I mean the Mariners are just bad. So the Mariners are just a bad offense right now. I suppose if you wanted to get some of the lefty power in there, you could, but I don't know. I will look him up a little bit more. We'll talk more about it on the deeper dive, and I'm sure you can touch on a live before lock, but I don't know a ton about him right now.
So the Rangers are basically unowned, and I'm going to be having lots and lots of the Rangers.
I don't disagree with that.
199 x ISO from Tommy Milone over the past 2 years against lefties, 211 against righties. There's a lot of power in this lineup. I mean, you get Chu leading off, Pence, Gallo, Mazzara, Odor, Astribble. I'm going to have, they're at like 2% aggregate. I'll probably have like 8 on both sites. I love the Rangers today in comparison to where the public is. There's just too much power here, and Tommy Milone stinks.
If anyone didn't think Tommy Milone was going to come back down to earth after a hot start to this season and a bunch of strikeouts, you were sadly mistaken. Tommy Milone is still not very good, and right-handed power has always been his Achilles heel. The only thing is the Texas Rangers suck against lefties.
DraftKings partnered with the PGA Tour.
Yeah, it looks like it.
Sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
You're good. No, Tommy Milone sucks. The Rangers are really bad against lefties, which is, the reason why yesterday Marco Gonzalez was someone that I thought was worth considering, despite not being a very good pitcher. And he goes out against this Rangers team and throws 7 2-run innings with 4 strikeouts. I would expect if Milone does anything decent, it'd probably be something like that, like 7 innings, 2-3 runs, 4 or 5 Ks. Not interested in him. Maybe a couple Texas bats, but their inability to hit lefties as a team and not just individually makes me a little bit less enthusiastic.
No, I get that. I get that for sure. Really anxious to see this lineup when it comes out, but as of right now, Gallo is at 8% on FanDuel. Next highest number is Elvis Andrus at 5. I'm going for it today. There's enough power potential there for me that if they are unowned, it's a very easy stack to get like 3 times the field on and really have no impact on your exposures for everything else.
Go for it, baby.
Yeah.
Joey Gallo is always interesting against lefties because he can certainly hit them for power. 431 ISO versus lefties this season, man. 431, 196 WRC plus. Not a ton of plate appearances, but bring it back to last year, and he also gets it done. 54% fly balls, 50% hard contact rate. Like Gallo can smash lefties, which is what makes him appealing for sure.
Let's see. I don't have anything else, I guess. I think we're done.
We're done, man.
1 hour, 53 minutes.
Not bad.
Always coming in here under 2.
I mean, it's 15 games.
It is. We got a lot to talk about. Perfect time for everybody to still hit that like button, subscribe to the channel. Coming up later today, 2:30 Eastern Time, Ben and Nolan will be talking about the WGC FedEx St. Jude Invitational. We will have the deeper dive, Laffy, Adam, and Alex Baker going at probably 4:45 today with all 15 games. And then live before lock tonight, Jake Hari and Chris Randone taking you all the way up to 7 p.m. Eastern Time. It's going to be 2 separate links today because I'm not producing. I've got house showing. Sorry, guys. But that was an incredible success for us, so probably be seeing that moving forward.
For sure. Yeah,
Anything
that was
else,
great.
man? Anything else?
Nah, catch you back here this afternoon and check out what do you got? The PGA show today?
Yep, 2:30.
Okay. Well, it's Tuesday. Makes sense. We
Yep.
got a lot. We got a lot on the YouTubes today.
We do indeed. We do indeed. Well, hit the like button on your way out the door, everybody, and best of luck tonight. I won't see you guys again until tomorrow morning, so adios.